So it says in Kathy Evans, we're on now, Kathy Evans' book, Carol Drake. After Raleigh Kidder became executive director of the center, Carol Drake, who previously worked for Jamestown physician Dr. Robert Ney, was hired as the center's first administrative assistant. Beginning in November 2003, from 9 a.m. until noon, she would be found in her first office located under the staircase of the main hallway using an archaic word processor donated by Cummins Engine. So, how did it all connect? At some point, did Raleigh just pick up a phone and call?
No, I didn't know him. I didn't know anybody connected with the place. And my best friend had worked in a lawyer's office and was part of the organization, legal secretaries. They put out a blanket request if anybody wanted to go to this new place that needed someone part-time, might as well sign up, you know, call. And she thought it was something I would like. So I said, okay, I can do anything for 3 hours a day. So I went and didn't know Raleigh, and we talked, and he kept naming people that I didn't know. And I had worked for Dr. Robert Ney and knew Lillian, and he said, oh, okay. So he called her, and I found out years later she told him if he didn't hire me on the spot, he would really regret it. So it was all her. Yep.
Dr. Ney, and since she was chairman of the Gebby Foundation Board, among other things.
Yes. So I guess he took her advice.
Yeah, wise move.
Mm-hmm.
So what did you think of this operation? I mean, you walk in day one, there's Raleigh Kidder, who you did not know.
Nope.
A building that you'd probably never been in.
Nope.
And which was under construction.
It was always under construction, but the first person that helped me, or that showed me around, was Gloria Lasser. And she really, she was an okay guide, but she just kind of let me look at things and, oh, nice, you know, we just wandered around. So that was my first day there, and just trying to get organized, just to see who people were. And then, of course, Fran Galbato was right there, too. It was interesting.
So both of those were docents who were in place at the time you came.
Yes.
Were there other docents also, do you remember, at that time?
Sure. Carolyn Volk, whose husband just passed away. Ann Cole was there. If not right then, soon after. There were a lot. Mostly Fran, and Gloria was there quite often. That's about it at first.
What I remember about Gloria was she was dressed to the nines.
Always. Always. And she was very articulate, very interested in history and facts, and she was delightful. I really liked her. She scared me at first.
Why was that?
I don't know, she was just stylish and very well-spoken, and I was just this person that didn't know what in the world I was getting myself into.
And then there's Fran.
Fran, she didn't warm to me very much for a while. She enjoyed her autonomy. She enjoyed her time there as the one that really set everything up.
And her role was, I mean, I know she did, frankly, aside, much more than just being a docent. I mean, she's kind of hands-on building-wise.
She did. She actually set up the whole filing system. She set up all kinds of things that probably are still used now. So she was the first, and she was happy to do it. She enjoyed it.
She even added the bookstore.
She suggested the bookstore for years, and then when they were doing some construction, that's when we put the bookstore in. Mm-hmm.
So you're there in November of 2003?
Yes.
So you had missed the Rehnquist show?
Yes, he was there the year before.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
Did Riley, but ultimately your job was more than just 3 hours a day. How did it morph?
The 3 hours turned into 4 pretty quickly. And it was very busy, and I was busy from the minute I got there till the minute I left. It was just, and I loved it. I didn't mind it, but the computer that we used was more like you could write letters on it, and that was it. The only communication we had was, Carol, come here. Yeah, we didn't use any kind of formal communication with a computer for a long time. So
we were involved in a lot of programming at the time, which required a lot of logistics at the time. Guys like myself had the 10,000-foot ideas and ultimately got a hold of the people and then said, you work it out.
It was challenging.
Yeah.
A lot of things that we did were challenging, but I didn't mind as long as I could do it and understood what I was doing. I enjoyed it, and then it turned into a full-time job after a while. But nobody worked full-time when I started. Becky Robbins was there, and Raleigh and me. And 2 o'clock probably was they left right after lunch. But so we got along for a little while, and then I proposed, can I please work 8 hours a day? Which turned into a lot more than that.
That it did. You were the radar. Really.
Yeah, all the little things that I did added up.
When you got into, when you were there, you had, aside from just the administrative aspect of it, there was the programming aspect of it. There certainly was the construction aspect of that. What was your take on all of that? I mean, especially the construction. I mean, there's a big 19,000 square foot building.
Yes, it had been done before I came for a while, and then the big one was in the basement, and when they started doing that, to put in air conditioning, do you remember? It was really warm down there. That was fun. I didn't mind it at all. It was a miracle that we could afford to do it, even though we got money for it. But we never spent any money on anything that we didn't have to. It was a pretty bare bones operation. And then when we got the money to do the construction, that was terrific, and it really made a big difference. It was great. And then I got to move into Becky's office, and she went upstairs, so I was no longer under the stairs. Enjoyed that. Had a lot of room then. And then we got more filing cabinets. There was a lot that we did, and yet still tried to stay in budget. So
with that, during your time period, we also embarked on the first International Humanitarian Law Dialogues. Talk about that.
That was a little overwhelming. The first year, Pam Brown was in charge of getting people there, or arranging their stay and all that. And that's the only year she did it, because it was really overwhelming. So I got to do that afterwards. That was probably one of the hardest things I did there, was getting all these very important people to the United States, from Buffalo to Jamestown, which was almost as hard, because we didn't have any money to have them come by a bus, or we had a lot of volunteers that would go pick them up, and just the logistics of everything. But these people were fantastic. I discovered through my years there that people that are really high up, that have already proven who they are the nicest. They don't have to prove anything to anybody. So I enjoyed that a lot.
You did meet a lot of people. But name some names, and maybe an experience or two. It could have been from the law dialogues. It could be the law clerks, which we brought in a lot of those during that time period,
Yeah.
and some notables.
Oh boy. Let's see. Who did I really like? I liked all of the people for the law dialogues. I really did. They were very nice to me. I was nice to them. So they got along well. I was trying to think who I really enjoyed when they came. And there were so many that you name me one and I'll let you know. Barrett Prettyman, I loved. He was very nice to me, and such a good sport. We had a lot of laughs actually, so he was pretty cool.
Whitney Harris.
Whitney Harris, he was very nice. He was more formal, and when we went to Germany with him and his wife, he was nice. He knew what he was doing. He was very smart and he was very cordial, but not slap you on your back.
Henry King.
Henry King, I didn't really know very well. He didn't. I wasn't around him much. I know he was there and I helped him out, but we didn't really have any just communication between the two of us. Not too much.
Eli Rosenbaum.
Oh, Eli. I like it. He was terrific. He was nice to me too. We had some good conversations. I picked him up at the airport with his wife and daughter one time, and he slept the whole way home because he hadn't slept in probably 24 hours.
I remember he went to some funeral.
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah, and that was when this is not a good story. He was there, his daughter was there who had some issues, and evidently his aunt had been involved in a vicious attack, and that was while they were there. And I thought she knew, and I said, "Oh, I'm so sorry to hear about your aunt." She had no idea, so I had spilled the beans to his daughter. I felt bad about that, but yeah, that's when they rushed off. But he was fascinating to me. All these people are.
Gabriel Bach. Remember Gabriel? He was the attorney prosecutor for Adolf Eichmann.
Oh, of course. Yeah, I didn't have much to do with him. So just hello. But all of the prosecutors, Serge Brammertz from there, he was always very funny. I don't know, I got to meet a lot of people.
We did. Desmond De Silva.
Oh, yeah.
We had Richard Goldstone, David Crane.
David, of course. We have a lot, we had children in common, grandchildren, so yes, he's always been very nice. We've done a lot together. And Jim Johnson has become one of our good friends, he and his wife. So these are all big shots that know things from around the world, and I'm so lucky to have been part of it.
Well, I think that's one of the benefits of doing this 20th anniversary, is reflecting back and seeing what we've done. Brielle Edborg is with us currently, and she is cataloging all of the programs we've done since day one into one continuous time.
Oh boy!
With all the links to the YouTube stuff, and I'm blown away personally by, because we kept looking forward, going forward, not looking back. And even the civil rights folks with Linda Brown.
Linda Brown, of course, our good friend in the white suit.
James Meredith, yes.
All those people. Dorothy Cotton, who is the only person I ever knew that you couldn't hold to a regular interview. one of my favorite moments.
Yes, that was like.
Oh my
For the
gosh.
camera, I'll tell the story only because she was known as a civil rights activist, a secretary to Martin Luther King, but also known as the spiritualist, singing spiritual and for the movement. So I really thought we'd do that evening, Sunday evening, before she was going to do a Monday event at the center, and she would do a song fest, songs of the civil rights. And she absolutely said no. Absolutely no. So
Right.
we then did the interview, and it lasted into the second question. And she goes, well, one of the things we sang was, and then got up, stood up, and then looked at the audience and walked away from me. And then ultimately, I said, I've lost this one.
Yeah,
And I did.
you really did. And it was great. Because you're such a good interviewer. And I've never seen you lose something as profoundly as you did.
Well, she did on for a 15-minute concert. She did it.
Oh,
She
gosh.
did what I wanted to do, and I was hoping hopefully you're getting what we hoped to get to. Then she finally sat down, but like,
Yeah.
all right, now your turn.
That was a fun moment for me. And I was always the time person for you.
Yes.
And made you do things, and hopefully a little bit.
Phil Donahue.
I liked Phil Donahue. Yes, he was very nice. He was pretty professional though. I didn't know him more than once or twice, so no kind of small talk usually. He had an agenda, but he was always very kind.
Very engaging, and he basically said, again for the camera, it's a long story how he called me one day after we reached out to him, and he said, Greg, I understand you might want to talk to me, and we talked back and forth, and I said, at the end he goes, now tell me, what is exactly you want me to do? He goes, well, I'll be Phil Donahue and you won't.
There you go.
He laughed.
That's great.
He said, great, show me the mark and I'll be there. I mean, that's his professionalism. He just wanted to know.
Wow. Yeah.
I'll do the questioning, you won't. We'll talk about Albert Speer, and then it turned out he was a huge fan of Jackson.
Right.
I did not know that. So yeah, that was quite a many event. We also had Bud Schulberg. Were you?
Bud Schulberg, yes. Oh yeah, I like it. Remember his son?
Yes. Forgot, yeah.
Yes, Aaron Beckwith. He was there many times.
Aaron?
Many years.
Yeah, many years.
Down in our little area in the basement.
I remember the first day he mentioned that, and I remember everybody's panic when he told all the students.
Oh, I do too. Oh,
That was not scripted, and all over there's 200 kids in the assembly, and said, let's go down to see the
Underground Railroad.
Yeah,
Yes.
and we had to figure quickly how to do that.
We went down the rickety stairs from the bathroom in the mansion, and then went through the rest of the horrible basement and up the other way when we left.
Forgot about that basement entrance here.
Yeah, it was spooky. It was spooky and supposed to have been part of the Underground Railroad. Whether or not it was great. It kind of showed the kids what it would have been like for all these people. Scary, and not knowing, going across the street under the ground was a big step. So I think a lot of people maybe got the idea what it was really like.
Much of the building expansion and rehabilitation, not expansion, but really rehabilitation, was done while you and Raleigh were there.
Yes.
Did you get a sense of the largeness of that whole project?
I did, especially since it was such an old building. Most of the construction was done on the newer part, which was still old, but the basement was completely redone. The kitchen, remember that? It needed it badly. And the conference room, or the main room that they have all the programs in, and the dinners and banquets and stuff. That changed tremendously. If you remember the fireplace that stood out before. Do you remember that?
Yeah.
And then so they built the places that we could actually store things. That was new. And the bar at the other end.
Gosh, yeah.
So see, I do remember some things.
Yeah, I forgot that.
The bar that we never used, but that was gone. It was really nice, really good. And the bathrooms, that was a big deal. And then in the auditorium, they brought the chairs out, so there weren't quite as many seats, but you didn't have to climb on somebody's lap to get through.
Those are very uncomfortable seats.
Yes, and we couldn't afford changing them then and can't afford changing them now, I would expect. And then, do you remember how happy we were that we didn't have to change the curtain?
Yes.
Because there was actually some piece of paper that said it had been fireproofed. And that's the only reason we could keep those curtains.
And they're fantastic backdrops. What I remember also, a couple quick things. One is when the rod, it was a wood that held the curtain up, broke.
Oh boy, I remember.
And it was before an event.
It was just before an event. I can't tell you what one, but every event had its moments.
And Brian, who was with Austin.
Oh, thank God for him.
Right?
Yes, in so many ways. He was.
And he fixed it. I mean, somehow
He did.
They did it.
He did. That was remarkable. And then we got the camera, the back camera that we could use now instead of from up in the crow's nest.
Projector, yeah.
Projector. All those things we had done then.
Were you around when we did a
Oh, I know.
law clerks event in the Kappa Theater, and the sparks and the electricity from a transformer went, and we...
No, they had to be really early.
Yeah, okay. And maybe, so during that 2003, might have been that.
Oh, okay. And the other thing we did at that time was where we have the, where we can store all our stuff well. That used to be just the robing room.
Yeah.
And for the Masons. So that all changed into a beautiful area for anything we wanted it to be.
Yeah, that was, they mapped, they had their maps, they had their robes.
Oh, that huge table they had, it was just one room.
Yeah.
And where all the exhibits are now, that didn't look anything like that.
And the storage, so we
And the whole thing
Yeah.
changed.
Don Bloomquist, was Don part of your world then?
They had already done most everything. They had done the ceiling in the dining room, or in the Weeks room. That stuff had all been done. They'd already found the fireplace in the main office, and that was done before I came. But he was around, and he still had opinions for a long time, and probably still does. But he gave me a lot of insight as to how it first started. So that was kind of fun.
Now, Don was a source. Stan and Sarita, were they part of your world?
Yes. The first time I met Sarita Weeks, they had, the room was all done. She came in and looked and saw some of the candles were kind of askew in these beautiful candelabra. She came back the next day with a piece of paper and scissors, and we spent an hour and a half cutting little strips of paper to wrap around all the candles so they would stand straight. Isn't that great?
Yeah. Wow.
So, and believe it or not, those little pieces of paper are still there in the candles. Yeah, they're, well, if they still have the candelabra up. They were last time I looked anyway. But yes, and I met Stan several times. So I wonder if people know that that's his walking stick in there.
Only I. And I can tell you this quick story because this is on film. Where after Sarita died, he called me and said, I want to be interviewed again by you. And I go, sure, of course. And he came in with the stick. He had to steady himself.
Mm-hmm.
Sat in that chair in the corner.
I can see him. Mm-hmm.
And we wanted to talk about Sarita. Essentially,
Aww.
it was kind of a love story. And then we got done. He was invigorated, felt good that he had got it out. It's on YouTube for anyone interested. And he left it there. I said, I'm not moving that at all. And then he died, and nobody ever thought of it at all. So I think if nothing else, you should probably put a tag on it.
I think so. It's so many things there mean something to me and you that other people really don't know about. It's really true.
Oh, yeah. The corporate history is really gone there.
The fancy mirror in the office. Oh my gosh, the older couple, whose name just escaped me, gave it to us.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's a beautiful thing.
It's a beautiful thing, and people don't know that, or little things.
Well, one of the things we did film a lot of filming. So on YouTube, if nothing else, when you see the flagpole, there's a story. When you see the Weeks Room, there's a story.
You're right.
And Raleigh was excellent at having an event doing all that. Though this predates you, our 5-year plan turned into a 2.5-year plan when Rehnquist said yes. All of a sudden, everything had to be done. Renee wrote some checks, more than she probably wanted to. Stan Weeks, same thing. Sarita then joined and that all, and a lot of that mansion part renovation got done very quickly.
I bet. Yes.
And one of the many support moves on the porch itself. Had whole stories.
Yeah, the porch.
Did we ever lose anybody there?
Jane Kidder put her foot through it. But after that, I would bring some planters I had from home and covered them up for a long time until we got the truck deck.
Yeah.
So, yeah, that wasn't good. Or the bathroom. The evil bathroom.
That finally at least got a facelift.
It got a nice facelift, yeah.
And then after Sandra Day O'Connor.
That's right. That didn't work well. But yes, that got an uplift, and I don't know, did it get another one from this latest?
No.
Okay.
Though I'll be anxious to see, because it's kind of within days of get the certificate of occupancy, so then we get.
Oh my gosh.
Get through it. I kind of know what's going on, but I also didn't want to dig deep to know it all. And let Kristen McMahon, God bless her.
Oh,
she inherited
what a
that.
find. She's terrific. But I lived through a few bosses.
So we'll talk about a few of those. You went from Raleigh and then Don Greenhouse.
Was he next?
Yeah, he was the interim.
Okay. Don thought that he was going into a major corporation. And that was fine with me. I was there to do whatever anybody told me to do. I never wanted anything else. Never wanted to be anybody. I just wanted to say, yep, no problem. And he wasn't used to that, and I'm sure he thought I was going to, I don't know what, but so he wanted some things that were a little far-fetched, and I figured, okay, here's the fishing line. I'll reel you in when I need to. So he did good. He actually got us. I think that was when we got rid of the yellow computers and finally got some computers that were computers, and that was a big learning curve for me. just weren't using them. But it was fine. So he was entertaining, and we really liked each other. And then came Adam Bratton, and he wanted to put a different spin on a lot of things, and he was good. He was there for a while. He was very energetic, and he enjoyed having his family around. So it wasn't quite the fit that everybody was hoping for. But he tried, and he was there for 3 years, I think, which was good. I enjoy it. We laughed every single day, every day. So, and Tracy was there then, so that was fun. But it was never as comfortable as it should have been. So we all know that. But then he left. Who came next?
I think it was it Jim? Was that Jim then?
Probably.
Yeah.
But there was an interim. Another, wasn't there?
Was there? I think it was Tom Schmidt. Was Tom there with you there?
He was not so much. He might have been there for a little while, but not very long. Yeah, it was Jim next.
Yeah.
And he was great. Not so much as an administrator as far as everything in the building, but he got it. I mean, after a while he was, of course, but yeah, they've become great friends. So I enjoyed him a lot.
So you worked there from 2003 through?
Right after Chief Justice Roberts came, 2013. That was a highlight, Chief Justice Roberts. And one of my most memorable moments was when David Crane was going to just kind of shout out an attaboy to me in front of everybody in the basement. And Ann Cole came running and getting me, and she said, "Get downstairs right now." So I did, and even the Chief Justice of the United States stood up for me. He couldn't sit there by himself, so yeah. Well,
you did. You pulled it off.
That was pretty cool.
Well, it was a magic moment, and there's so much behind the scenes stuff.
Yeah.
As you recall, we had a book, I think, like about that thick of everything.
Yeah, or even when Governor Cuomo came, there was a book that thick just to get him in the door. We had to have so many, and I would assume for anybody of that esteem, or Hillary Clinton.
But we didn't control that as much as we did.
But I had to.
Ours, yeah.
Roberts was ours, but we still had to set things up for his coming in the building for the governor. But yeah, Chief Justice Roberts. I was there on the stage at Chautauqua, putting the portrait on something and fixing the chairs and just doing all the little things that nobody knows anybody does. It's just there. So that was fun. That was when the dogs were in the banquet room sniffing around, and they were tipping over every chair. That was quite an eye-opener. So that was quite the event to go out on.
That was an evening to remember, a day to remember. My gosh, talk about weather the following day. That was Norman Rockwell.
That was a really one of a once in a lifetime event, I think. Yep. So that's me.
That's a lot of you. And then you were talking about Saddam Hussein's the prosecutor of. Remember, he came in from Cleveland.
Oh wow, yeah. Yes, he really impressed me.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Wonderful guy, but you think about how he had to expose himself.
Man.
television, and he's the guy that delivered the indictment against Saddam
Yeah.
Hussein.
These people who give up their entire life for their cause, you know, it's amazing to me. The people that we've met.
And I'm glad you got a scrapbook or a photo album of some of those folks.
I do. There's a lot in there, and then I've got other things too. Our trips to Nuremberg, I was just reminiscing about how the first one we went to in 2005, Raleigh and I were trying to figure that out, and he would call the hotel, Meridian, and people in Frewsburg could hear him. He figured if he talked louder, they could understand him. So I enjoyed that part, but we did a lot that I had never thought I could do about that, arranging things, but they were great there in Germany.
And that was a huge jump start for the Jackson Center, because we had interesting people there.
We had great people. Father Fuchs, of course.
Yeah.
That was his kind of debut as far as talking about his time with Jackson.
Was that the time Eric Larson sort of?
That was when Eric and Becky's daughter came.
Okay, all right.
Yep. And yeah, that was the first adventure as a whole group. There were a lot of people there. Stan was there. I can't even tell you. Arnie Bello was, yep.
There was a cadre of people who had gone to London for a Chautauqua thing.
Yes.
And then they'd come down.
Right.
For that. And then, of course, there was a lot of other folks.
Oh, shoot. I wish I was just looking at it this morning, all the people that were there.
40, 50 people. I mean, it was you had a bus, Christoph Safferling, and it was really well orchestrated.
It was. We worked, oh my gosh, and then we got to go to the documentation center. Remember the dinner we had with the mayor? Yeah. With a table of people, and they just kept pouring wine.
It was a wet mess.
So a lot of great memories. Yep.
And that too is on YouTube. I put together a little.
Oh, good. Good, but all these things were all firsts for all of us. All the programs, all the authors that came, that were all scholastic winners and the Young People's Award winners. That was a big deal. That was really a big deal. Well, and you were part of all of that, getting orchestrating people, bringing people here. People came in from the New York Bar Association. We had always had a speaker the night before, often Holocaust survivors. Those were amazing. Yeah. So, what a great adventure for some little secretary from Jamestown. for all of us, and it meshed well, and it was a small team. Yes. Yeah, and I think we really depended on each other. And, I don't think there were any egos in that. I'm not asking you to respond, but I don't think there were any egos in all these people, because they all had their roles. Exactly. Yeah. They sure. Jim Oria. I'm trying to think of other people that were docents. He was there for a long time. Steve Massa, Jim Oria, Ed Tomasini, of course. Oh, Ed. I couldn't have lived there without him. I would call him as he was over at school or something, and he would be there as soon as he possibly could to help me, because that was one of the most confusing things I did, because I didn't like doing it. But yeah, no, the egos left the door. They had to. Sometimes they got in the way, but not very often. Megan Sorensen, was she there when you were there? Yeah, oh yeah. Yes. Megan was there before Tracy. Maybe. Right? No, that's the opposite. Yep. Yes, I begged her not to leave. She was going to leave before she did, and that was when nobody was there. but then she left, and then I was actually alone there for some time.
And Deb Pecos was there for a while?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She was there.
And Jen was sort of our archivist and exhibits manager?
Yes.
And then these were a little before you. Linda Cowan, was she part of that?
Oh, yeah. She was. She was there, and she did a lot. She got more and more involved and then kind of stepped back.
Remember we did that thing with the Chautauqua County Historical Society and James O'Brien?
Oh, sure.
Elvian Tourget?
Yes. I sure do.
And I know we put together a couple of dinners honoring volunteers, and then we had put together a booklet which was pages and pages of people who've volunteered their
Yes.
time. And we'll try to kind of re-invite everybody to December 14th this year. That's going to be our
I'll be there
20th.
if I'm invited. Okay.
At least you will be. And and in addition, you brought along your husband,
Yes.
Rod, who has been tremendous on so many fronts and got sucked in on matters which I hopefully approved of, but most recently the Spring Creek one.
The Spring Creek, yes, that was great. That was a lot of fun. Remember the first time we went there? Going through the bramble,
Oh, God.
trying to get across that bridge.
That had grown up so much from the time that when Julia, John, and I went there in 2001. We had no idea where it was. We found it, but we could find it. It was like a field, just brush. And then we came back 5 years later, and it was just totally overgrown.
Oh, yeah.
And then when we came back later, I couldn't find it. You know, when we were there with Susan Murphy and other people,
Oh,
I thought, hey, I'll walk right to it. I bet we spent a half an hour circling before anybody found one foundation, let alone ultimately
Yeah.
now it's...
that was before Susan came, because that was when I was there,
Okay.
and I wasn't there when she was there. But, yeah.
They're really gonna-
Yeah. And then the statue moving, Rod had a little something to do with this
A
time.
lot, man, right there. I mean, so that right there, you know,
Yeah.
that was Rod. And a lot of people who helped out.
Oh, my
Once
gosh.
he understood what we were doing, it was Rod who figured out what to do. And then we had the George Spanos.
Yes.
Oh my God, came up with the cranes, two of them.
And it worked.
And it worked. And it didn't cost us. Sorry. Yeah. Because we had raised money.
Yeah.
We had raised money to do all that. And that's a coup. I mean, there's so many coups, so many stories, but the statue, you look at it today as if it has been there forever and assumed it's been there forever.
And it was a tree before,
Yeah.
in the
There's a
corner there.
tree that had to be knocked down. We had to get the city to do that because somehow, you know, it was on one of the rights of way almost. A little was on the right of way.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, man. So, a lot of changes.
Well, it has been, and for the good. And we're making an effort through this process of talking to the Carol Drakes of the world to kind of capture that which occurred, because I believe that certainly the current group, though very efficient, very well done, they're all rookies in a timeline sense. They walk in, there it is, assume it's been there. Every piece has a story. It could be
It does.
gold-leafed piece that Raleigh and found some artisan to do.
That's right.
The plaster.
Oh my gosh. Just think, even,
money to do that.
yeah, even the library on the third floor, I don't know if it's still there, but that they built up there. Remember that? That
Built on
Dave
the
did that.
dance floor. That ugly, we never heretofore not used, hardly even knew it existed.
No.
Dance floor, and then we got Henry King's books and
Yeah.
stuff. And it had a guy who was a retired librarian from JCC.
Oh, that's right.
He came and spent the whole
Yes.
summer tagging the whole darn thing. Now it's all in boxes in anticipation of phase 2.
Oh, okay.
Which we don't have the funding for that yet. But yeah, the library is still there. I'm not sure what the iteration's going to be once it gets done. I'm not sure what's going in there.
That was nice.
Yeah.
Yep, so a lot of
So
changes.
what's the question you expected I was going to ask you today, aside from what you thought about me? Don't need to go there.
No, let's turn that off before I tell you. I don't want you throwing it through the second floor window. I don't know, just talk about what we did and how much fun it was, and it was a challenge. I'd never done anything like that before. I'd worked in offices before, but nothing from the ground up, and I learned a lot, and I helped it grow. And I took tablecloths home and washed them.
Yeah, you did.
You know, little things that people probably wouldn't do now and probably wouldn't have done then, but it was my baby too.
Well, you know, that's really a good point, because there was an ownership of that group.
Mm-hmm.
You know, whether it was you, Raleigh, and even when after he retired, he took ownership of all those events that occurred with the Jackson Lecture dinners. I mean, Jane
that's right.
hosted those. You brought, and everybody brought out tables.
Those were fun.
Yeah.
Those were great. Yeah, and all the board members who were so active were then that really added to the whole ambiance of the place, I think.
And probably will be forever forgotten, except for you and me, is how you and Rod landscaped the Robert Jackson Memorial at Maple Grove Cemetery.
I was just there.
Really?
Of course, I go there every year just before Memorial Day to see if anybody's doing anything with it. And shoot, what's her name? You'll know. The Harold Adams' niece, Harold Adams somebody, family has taken over doing it.
Good.
So, because I would have spruced it up this year, but it was already done. So yes, we did take that over. That's true.
Well,
Harold Adams. There's another one.
Yeah. Talk about him.
He was, I just thought he was the best thing since sliced bread. He would just come in full of vim and vigor, and he called me his nemesis the last time he spoke. And he turned out to be a good guy.
Always dressed. Talk about
Always dressed to the nines, suit coat or sports jacket and tie, and a twinkle in his eye.
And he had so
proud.
much, but you had to kind of drag it out of him, and then he all of a sudden would pull out something.
Mm-hmm.
I remember he had the scorecard of the Nuremberg Trial, because I don't know why he never really focused in on it, but he was asked, specifically drawn out, to go to Nuremberg for the judgment on October of 1946 to be there.
His uncle had and said something's coming.
Yep, and it came, and next thing you know, he's dragged out from wherever he was in Germany, sent right up there, and then he kept the scorecard, convicted, this, and he had this piece of paper that we have.
That's right.
But I guess it took years for us to even know that he had something like that.
Mm-hmm.
He was very kind of reserved. I don't think at all reluctant. He was just kind of somewhat reticent about talking about himself.
Yes, I think, yeah, you're right. But I think he was very proud of his connection to Jackson, and really felt bad about the cemetery, and really wanted it to be everlasting upkeep, which didn't quite work out. But
I don't know how it's working out. I don't really want to know. I'm just glad.
I know, but it is being taken care of.
Yeah.
So Yeah,
Well,
little things.
let it be known for the tape that it was Carol and Rod Drake who saved the day on
Yep.
more Memorial Days than we'll ever remember.
Probably then you'll know.
Yeah,
Yep.
so I'm delighted. Well, I'm delighted you came in
This
today.
this is fun.
Yeah.
It's fun to talk. So I'm not very good at it, but I enjoy it.
You're very articulate at it, and you lived it and well represented in Kathy Evans' book.
Yes. And when our author of the Jackson book came, that was pretty fun.
Gerhardt.
No, that wrote the Jackson book for kids.
Oh, yes.
Gail.
Gero.
Gail. Yeah.
Of course, yeah.
That was a good adventure. That was
She came
that was
many
great.
times,
She
and
did.
That was for us many highlights, but to have actually a book. That was the first real book for anybody grade, but 8th graders. So we had something to distribute
Yes.
and something to sell. Because you have a Jackson Center, the first question people is, well, who's Jackson? And for a while,
That's right. So a lot of things. The teachers from Springville. I mean, they made us a national.
Yeah, Joe and Drew.
Yep. A national event, school-wise.
Yep.
I think they were instrumental in a lot of things.
Right.
So, yeah, it's fun to think about, isn't it?
Yeah, well, actually it is. And you'll see when Brielle Edberg does she's finishing up this week, sort of 20 years. She's grabbed all my scrapbooks.
Oh my
and
God.
cataloged them, or cataloged events. You know, here's a date, here's a picture, and here's the links. So it's a description,
Nice.
and that's right. For me, it's like a dream.
Oh my gosh. Wow.
So what I don't want to have happen is that as you and I are in Raleigh, and a few of us are the only corporate history. You know, you don't want to get lost in the history, but you got to know where you came from to know where you're going to.
Right.
And not just somehow assume magically it showed up one day.
I know.
It
I know.
didn't.
It was a good 10 years, I'll tell you. It was a lot of fun, and just think the people that I met and able to help out a little bit. So.
Well, I just think about you've been brought back too out of retirement. You're that.
I have. I
Gal
think
Friday.
3 or 4 times. The last time was with Deke Kathman. I was there for 3 months.
Right.
So, that was fun. And then maybe that wasn't the last time. Maybe for a couple weeks here and there, which is kind of fun because I don't really have to know anything. All I have to do is answer the phone and say, "Are you back again?"
Well, we had Tom Schmidt. We
Yep.
had Deke. Of course, in between Susan. So yeah, you've been the glue, man.
Well, you bet. Now I'm just falling apart, but that's a different story.
You look great. Well, thank you.
You bet. Thanks, Greg.
Appreciate it. This is
Good to
fun.
talk to you.